Pavlovich Aspinall. Guys, I brought you this a week ago, and I told you DraftKings has Aspinall as the favorite. I shared with you that surprised me. I shared with you I thought that would change. But if you like that action, get over there quickly. It takes me about 45 minutes from the time I make these. They go to California, they get what's called processed, they get uploaded on YouTube. So it's not live, but I'm awful close. And when I put that out right away, comment section and my personal social media, Chael, you're wrong. Chael, you're wrong. Chael, you're wrong. When I read it, I never double checked it. When I read it, I accepted the different viewers of you guys telling me that I was wrong, that Tom was not the favorite. I accepted it because I believed myself that it would change. I thought Aspinall would be the underdog. I was surprised when he was the favorite. I even put that in the piece. I never checked it. Now here we are 5 days later. I checked it this morning. Aspinall's the favorite. So I went back and checked the history of it. Aspinall's been the favorite the whole time, guys. It never dipped. It never went the other way. So I think you guys did to me what you think I did to you, which I think I surprised you by sharing with you that DraftKings has Aspinall the favorite. And this is close, by the way. This is a negative 125 to a plus 110. That is as close to even money as one needs to speak. Ian Parker would agree that's close to even money. But officially, right, if you're being technical, and I feel that we are being technical, and I'm taking my victory lap here, guys, Tom is the favorite. Do you think he should be? How would you get Tom to the favorite based on what we all know about MMA, which is, what have you done for me lately? How would you get there? Tom has had 2 fights in 2 years. He's 1-1 in those 2. One of them was an injury. Now, that's a concern for me. It's a concern for me when Tom was injured because when he returned to a main event. Well, that means he's returning to a 5-round atmosphere. There are not very many fighters in the 5-round club. There are not very many fighters, including those who are in the Hall of Fame. Are you guys aware of that? We have people in the Hall of Fame that aren't in the 5-round club. The 5-round club is rarer than the Hall of Fame. And I bring that to you because they're great fighters that either were never scheduled for 5. Back upon a time, you had to be a championship match. No matter how good you were, could you get to that match? Then that switched to championships and main events. Just by example, there just wasn't a lot of top guys. And then the guys that actually made it to that spot and signed the contracts didn't go all 5. I bring it to you because it's not that they don't go because they get finished. They get finished because they look for a way out. They look for a way out because they reach the point of exhaustion. Exhaustion is a comeback athlete's biggest fear, not failure, not losing, not getting hurt, getting cut, going to the emergency room. That's in non-fighters' heads. Fighters are well beyond that. And I only share with you, they still do have fear. They still do have concerns. They still have a vulnerability. But it all has to come down and all has to do with, do I believe, should the end of the night come, I can hold up and finish the match? Can I follow the golden rule, which is to protect myself at all times? Like, that sounds like a beautiful thing. What does that mean, to protect yourself? What does it mean? It means put your damn chin down and put your hands up. You're completely protected. If your chin is down and your hands are up, you are following the golden rule of protect yourself at all times. When you reach a level of exhaustion where you cannot do that, that's where the problem comes. And I'm only sharing this with you guys because when Tom returned after Curtis Blades, he walked right back into that environment. Look, let's say the Curtis fight, and then it's 1 year till Tom's back in the ring, but it's 8 months of recovery. Not training, but you're working out, you're staying busy, and then 4 months of a good solid training camp. Fine, we're probably having this conversation. When you're hurt to the level that Tom was, those 8 months, you're very stagnant, right? It's the same thing that I believe Conor McGregor is going through now. When I watch the changes in Conor's body, right, you only get that big if you're not burning the appropriate amount of calories. Now, when I see training footage of Conor in the little small clips that came out through the Ultimate Fighter, even his Instagram, tell you he looks pretty damn good, right? Conor moves like a light guy, moves like that weight's coming off. I divulge into that topic. Let's go back to Tom. So Tom's had 2 fights in 2 years. He's 1-1 in those 2. Now, Tom's my guy, by the way. If you think I'm putting Tom down, no, not at all. I think this is exactly the spot Tom belongs in. This is the spot that I knew Tom eventually would find himself in. But everything in life is about timing. So is the timing right? Well, We'll find out on November 11th. Right now is about discussion. And then you have the people whose opinions really matter because they're parting with their hard-earned money. They believe that Tom is the favorite and is going to beat Pavlovich. But I just laid out for you the bad news for Tom. He's 1-1 in his last two, and it took 2 years to get those. Let's look at the bad news. If you're a Tom supporter, about who you're facing, Sergei Pavlovich. 6 up, 6 down. 2 things in common. They all got finished, and none of them got out of the first round. That is a shocking statistic for mixed martial arts. That is a story, and that is a marketing that could and would be used to the highest abilities if the people in charge of marketing felt that they had a partner. Now, I give Sergei a hard time, but he deserves it. I mean, this is a sport that is star-driven. In a time of social media, in a time where there is no better bang for your buck than social media. And not only do I not feel that Sergei does it, I actually took some time. I went to his Twitter account. I kind of followed through his account. He's got 35,000 followers. That makes him, in the Twitter era that goes back to 2009, that makes him the least followed heavyweight contender since Twitter began, which I believe you kids now, you're now calling it X, fine. I don't give Sergei a hard time for that. I'm trying to figure out why. Why is he not embracing this? Why is he not more busy on this? And it's one thing to not understand that you're just a diehard competitor, and there's a place for you. There's a place at the top. You can be a star. You can go win a belt at Madison Square Garden. There's a way to get there. It's just a longer road, right? The Chuck Liddell story is very real. Like Chuck became one of the most recognizable MMA fighters on earth. I think the most recognizable. A distinction that I think he still holds to this day. And he took the long road. Chuck didn't understand any of those things. He just understood win. You do that enough times, you can still get there. I don't begrudge that. But there are ways to slow that, and there's ways to speed that up. And one thing about Pavlovich, boy, he sure seems to be a great fighter. I mean, he's fully committed as a competitor. That's the story. Let's get that out there on him. He's going to be mysterious. He's going to have his head down. He's the new coming of Fedor. I'm in. But there's ways to do that. When I go to Pavlovich's Twitter account, not only do I notice he is the least followed heavyweight contender since Twitter came into existence. I don't think it's him. Fine. That's not good if people can see through that. And at that point, it doesn't matter if it's you or it's not you. At that point, it doesn't matter. If the viewer doesn't believe it's you, your problem's the same. It's all perception, right? So the problem's the same. Lots of people that have managers or have help do their social media. Lots of them get caught. It's not good. It changes what they said. It's a bet. But it is gender specific. If you are a male and you've got an assistant that's helping you and they're writing it and they're a female, all of a sudden and I just don't think that Pavlovich would have this many emojis. I don't think that Pavlovich is out there on a Saturday and telling people, I just hope that you have a great day with exclamation points and 5 emojis. So is that skewing the odds, though? Did the odds come for what the odds are supposed to come for, which is this guy's skills versus this guy's skills? And how do you think, as an expert, how do you think it's going to happen when those skills clash? Or is it just a big fan base? You might remember at one point, Conor McGregor was an 11-1 dog to Floyd, and then the money came in from Ireland. Closed that gap down to 6-1. The fight went off. Conor was just worse than 7-1. But I'm sure, they almost cut it in half when that fan base came in. My father was a big bettor, but he was also a horseman. And his ego would be directly related to what the odds of his horse was before the race. If we get there and his horse is a 14-1 underdog, it somehow affected him. I have the foggiest idea how. Nobody knows who owns the horse, but he did, and he would go to the window and he would bet on that horse just to change those odds. Even if the horse was going to win or lose, he couldn't stand to see those odds on the board for the 40 minutes that it sat there before they went to the next race. It's a very real thing with human psychology. Well, they will purely back their guy because it's their guy. And I'm just asking you, is it right here? Do you support those odds? And if Tom's going to beat him as he's favored to do and has been from the beginning. And DraftKings, boy, they get it right a lot. You guys get it right a lot. What are you seeing? I like Tom in the fight too, but I think he needs to take his time. I think the Sergei's very powerful at the beginning. I think he needs to watch that. One thing that will bite a guy in the ass is success. The biggest problem that Ronda Rousey had with Holly Holm, and I just offer that because that's two wonderful women whose names that you will know. But it wasn't the head kick or the kickboxing ability or the hard work or determination of Holly Holm. It wasn't those things. The biggest problem that Ronda had was the 5 previous opponents that Ronda had. When you start getting them out of there in 60 seconds, you start to expect to get them out of 60 seconds. When a fight is harder than you thought it was going to be, nothing. Number one cause of an upset in sport is when the competition turns out to be harder than you thought it was going to be. Not harder than you prepared for, not harder than you have the ability to go, not harder conditioning from the strength and effort and heart that you well possess, harder than you thought it was going to be. And things will unravel very, very quickly. And Sergei is on one of these rolls where when you start to see 15 minutes and you start to see 18 minutes, not only have you never seen them, you also haven't prepared for them. Ring rust is real. Well, Sergei's been busy, Chael. How can you say that? Well, has he been busy? I told you that Thomas fought twice in 2 years, splitting results. But if you go and look at how many minutes Sergei got in those 2 years, they're not vastly different. And it's something to consider. And perhaps it's something that you've already considered. I don't set the lines over at DraftKings. You guys are the ones that dictate it. Where does the money come in? DraftKings had Tom from the jump. They've got Tom now. It's close. I admit it's close, but it's never been a time since the announcements of this fight that DraftKings has hedged that bet or that they've swayed. It has never gone in Sergei's favor. What do you think about that? I make comments to this guys all the time. I go to DraftKings, I look at the odds all the time. I bring them to you. I've never been pushed back on. I've never had people more surprised. I admit I'm surprised too. So how did we get here? The people in the know, what is it about Tom over Pavlovich? What is it that they know? And I want to leave you with one final thought. When you use history to look back on, the last-minute replacement generally comes in at a deficit. Don't forget this is a last-minute replacement for Tom. Sergei, while not being on the card, has been the backup fighter for close to 3 months. He planned the travel. He went through the camp. He has a financial participation. He has his paperwork and his license in. He has the travel. He has the date. The corners know that they're going out there. There was nothing new put in. He didn't know if he was going to compete, but even when he thought he might compete, he didn't know who he was going to be against, whether it was Stipe or Jones. So it's not a big deal for him to insert somebody else. Kamaru Usman, who was in a figurative match at DraftKings for 4 years, was always the favorite over Chimaev. But when the fight actually happened, Chimaev became the favorite. Why? It was the same 2 guys. Why? Well, you bettors and the odds makers thought there was a disadvantage for taking it on short notice. I'm asking, have you forgot that Sergei knew about this? Have you forgot this is short notice? Have you forgot it's short notice, but only for one guy? The favorite, Tom.